Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today, as Russia annexed 4 new territories and Ukraine signed a document requesting to join NATO, we are bringing you day 219 with Olexiy Arestovych, Lieutenant Colonel, Advisor to the Office of the President of Ukraine, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition journalist. Enjoy. Dear friends, glad to meet you all on Feigin Live. Today is Friday, 30th of September, and it is 1 minute past 10 in Kiev, day 219 with Olexiy Arestovych. Olexiy, glad to see you. Yes, good evening, Mark. It's a good day. Alright, we're doing our usual stream, over 130,000 watching us live, 25 already. Clicked the like button, thank you very much. Do not forget that the day is rather special, we have a lot of news, perhaps we don't have enough time to go over everything, but we'll try. And please click the like button, share links in your social media, please subscribe to Feigin Live, Olexiy Arestovych, and Privateer Station if you are watching that in English or listening to that in English. There are a lot of people watching us without subscription, so please do not forget to do that. All the links to the media are down below under this video. Alright, let's start. Let's start our stream with the first map. The situation on the front is also rather strange and changing, so let's take a look at the situation near Lyman. We do not have full data. Some data suggests it's fully surrounded. Another data suggests that do have an option to still get some restocking through the Zarechny to the east. But there is more data coming, and probably Ford, Intel, and Spetsnaz groups already cut Zarechny route off. President did not comment on that, but he did acknowledge that we do have serious success in the east, so I think we can somewhat pull the curtain a little, that those people who follow different Telegram channels already likely know. There are 3 possible outcomes. A good one for us, we surround them, destroy some, capture some, get equipment. The negative one, they manage to break through. They will lose some of the equipment in the fight. Part of them will still get captured. And at the end, they will still lose that rather fortified position in the forest with a lot of concrete structures. And the middle version, half of them runs, half of them gets killed. What's the number? Do you have a number for those in this that are surrounded in Lyman? Different numbers. The biggest one I heard is 5,500, the lowest 2,500. For the group that is encircling them, it's not the biggest number, right? It doesn't do anything to stop you. Yeah, for the group surrounding them, they don't care. Why? Because there are too many of you? No, because they are already surrounded. We already have enough equipment to prevent their attempts to delocate. So that means we're holding them rather tight. And Putin's forums were screaming for a couple of days that almost just a little more and they'll get restocking, they'll get support. So why didn't they? What happened? Well, it's as dumb as they don't have any reserves. That's it. So, theoretically, they could have dropped troops from up in the north to support these, but those are tied up by our brigades up there. Then there are also the guys near Siversk who could have got there. They're holding their position. they still can't. They're too tied up. They could have gotten more troops from Svatova, but those troops are, again, low in numbers. What they're calling battalion tactical group is probably one step lower tactical group. They don't have enough people. Because it's not just the surrounding of Lyman. This is one tactical part of it. There is a lot of activity happening up north, and our troops are also pushing to the east, on both sides of that Lyman protrusion. And the road that goes to support them is also under our fire support. If you want to drop somebody down from Svatova on that yellow road in the middle of the map, we also can reach that, so it's difficult. And there are Russian cadre, bars. There's detachments of a second corps of DNR, LNR, and there are some mobics, some mobilized people also there. So I give them maybe a day or two, and then we're closing this topic. The fighting may actually still ensue. They can possibly hold the city, but their destiny is predefined at that point. So let's take another look at them. Since the beginning of September, that story was unfolding since the beginning of September. It means that they failed to organize any strong defense, right? On the left bank of the river, of Oskol River, nothing is really working for them. Is that true? No, Mark, it's not so simple. They actually did organize some defense, and they were holding Lyman and surrounding neighborhoods for about 3 weeks. And our troops did have to struggle to get them. It was not an easy victory for us. The problem is that they could not drop any reserves to support these guys, because they're just running out of them. I know that shamanism with annexation and stuff, because for cases like that, they're simply running out of troops. So if they had resources, what would happen? Well, they could counter-strike Yampol and Red Kadub to the north and to the south of Lyman. They would restock the Lyman garrison and group. They would have pushed the supply corridor wider and made sure it's more safe. They likely would create another outpost somewhere between Lyman and Svatova, and that would be enough. Yeah, and it would be very difficult for us to continue going if they had enough. But they just have no resources. They're not on the front, or where are they? Oh yeah, they're there. Lyman, to the sides where we are continuing our offensive surrounding it, and forward to the east, that's where mobilized are already dying. We already intercepted a scream of one Russian so-called correspondent from that area, who was sent there to cover for some troops, but at the first sound of machine guns, they just dropped their weapons and fled. And he's cursing 7 ways to Sunday on these mobilized people who are running away. So it was only one source where I read it, and it is not confirmed in other places, but this is rather characteristic expectation. So we'll probably see, yeah, in a couple of weeks we'll see more videos, we'll see more audio, we'll hear more audio, we'll see how that develops. I think in very short term we'll see how that plays out. I would want to say out front, these mobilized people will not be able to hold tight. That's for sure. It'll be way difficult for them to hold lines. And I don't know what they expect, Olexiy. There'll be thousands of those dead. They are not trained. It'll be very, very more dramatic. I don't know what they count on. Because earlier, those were contractors, people who decided to go there. Right now, they're not being asked. They're basically mobilized crowd. They're just drafted by the government. And today, they already announced in Russia that demobilization is not happening this year. But they provided additional explanations that those already drafted and under contract. For the draftees or for the contractors? For everybody. Everybody who is fighting that war, they're here for till the end. The only options are to get wounded, to get dead, or to finish this special operation. Interesting. Okay, let's go follow the map. Anything there? Bakhmut, no, nothing changed there. They have been losing their attack potential for quite a while. We are slowly gaining ours, and we likely will start pushing at some point, but a little later. Same situation near Mariinka. Zaporozhye is a bit quieter, occasional shelling and flyovers by aviation. Kherson, we worked real well on the right side, right bank, with HIMARS and artillery, polishing and destroying that group. We are targeting their personnel, equipment, command posts. And yesterday, as we were finishing the stream, they started rather unprecedented, if you still can use that word in regards to that war. They started shelling Dnieper and Zaporozhye with missiles. In Dnieper, one family died. You saw some pictures, maybe. There is a dog standing on the ruins of the house. So the guy, the son, the father, and the husband all in one piece came back. He was released from army where he was there, fighting not too far, and he found all dead. His wife, father, mother, 2 children. And also a column in Zaporozhye was attacked with artillery, over 100 wounded, over 30 dead, so one can understand what and who we are fighting with, right? Okay, so that's the map, nothing else on the map then. Over 100,000 click the like button, over 300,000 watching us live. Thank you for joining us on Friday. And for the newcomers, please do not forget to share links to that stream on your social media. And subscribe to Feygin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych. Now to the dessert, I guess. So you've seen all that circus. A small video will show that one. I really like it. It's 30 seconds, it's worth it. It's that screaming, Russia, Russia. One semi-poisoned, another also not finished in those occupied territories. The third was pyramid sales pusher before that career. Now he is making his political career with Putin. This one is impressive, where that little one and he's being shaken like that. Yeah, check it out. This one, yeah, could take its position, rightly so, somewhere in Pornhub. Alright, so what's most impressive? I've been commenting a lot of things today too. It's very clear, the main thesis is Kiev needs to sit down at the table. Ouch, it hurts. We are Russia, stop offending. How dare you, this isn't human. Ouch, and Arestovich is an ass. Oh, of course. So, for now, he may be deceiving, but I think he is refusing to voice the idea that they'll reach Kiev again, and he wants to sit down at the table and discuss. How do you look at that? We don't give a fuck. Let's discuss that. Oh yeah, we are. We are discussing that. We don't give a damn. Okay, so that means that if you are defending, they will not be sending mobilized Mobiks to Belarus. They will. They will, and they already are sending some equipment and some armaments, because they might likely try to repeat the same operation or something similar, or at least prevent our troops from attacking further out in the east, and make sure that we are keeping more forces up in the north, just in case. They can also start their shenanigans in Sumy and Chernihiv region, but the situation is different. We'll let our citizens warn. No, if things happen. So, with what will they try anything? With Chmobiks, partially mobilized? So, what would you outline in his 15-minute speech? There are several curious points. First is his excuse that Americans created a precedent for use of nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Well, yeah, it depends how you look at that. If you look at it that with 2 nuclear strikes they finished a Second World War, perhaps that's an invitation to finish this war with 2 strikes in Kremlin, right? Because every analogy can be spinned both ways. It's a dual-edged sword. Also, he did not say anything new. There is a lot of anti-colonialism. He's trying to get third countries on his side, the ones that are sort of in the anti-West camp. But it's difficult now from his current position, because after annexation, he's an idiot. Any support by any other country at the moment means that these countries support annexation, support illegal annexation. I'm curious to see what Orban in Hungary and what Merkel would be saying now, because they are the ones who used to like to say everything is not so simple. And the leaders of several African countries as well. Anti-imperialism he did not touch, right? Because they are pretending to be the correct empire. A lot of pretense, a lot of attacking the West. He was made a weird special point about gay culture, about occupants trying to annex Ukraine to the West. We understand him, and he did push the invitation to the negotiation table, for which Ukraine responded with surrounding his troops near Lyman and signing an official request to join NATO. And Zelensky said that he will not negotiate with this president. He said he will negotiate with another one, with the next one. Yeah, he said depending upon who will be the next president and what level of sanity will the next president have. With this one, the question is closed. Interesting. Question is closed. Let's touch on some details. I did mention about gays. He probably got excited. I don't know if he came into his shoe 3 times while he was talking, but this is just something weird. We can quote Pelevin here. He was pronouncing the word homosexual with such a whistling S that was definitely hinting at a latent homosexuality in himself as well. Yeah, that's an old satire. And also he had big Russia, geopolitical Russia, new civilizational geopolitics. He was even complaining that the West is killing our philosophers. And let's take a look at Zelensky's reaction. Besides everything else, they did say that we're not going to watch that. Of course, they, I think, did watch, but there was a stated position that we're not. And what we will do, we'll sign a request to join NATO. Do you think it's an improvisation? Me and Piantkovsky were discussing that topic in depth today. It was interesting to see, and I think we agreed that as a result of a Ukrainian offensive, Ukraine will likely join NATO at the end, and I think Kissinger also mentioned that in one of his interviews. That seems pretty logical at the end of this conflict, and NATO can provide nuclear cover for Ukraine if they do take it, and if it is not an improvisation, then this is some sort of a plan. All right, let's take a look. The same day when Ukraine is applying to join NATO, and it's signed by the head of Rada, by prime minister and president. The same day, Stoltenberg comes out with his speech. Some of our people here are a little upset about Stoltenberg not saying anything concrete, not promising and saying, yes, we are taking you. They're living in the old paradigm. NATO is a collective organization with 30 members. He cannot come out and say yes for 30 of them. But he said, the most important thing, we will continue support and the doors are open. We do not accept annexation, we support Ukraine, and the fact that he comes out and speaks 4 hours after Zelensky. He could have come out the next day, right? Or next week, but he comes out the same day with a consolidated support from the name of alliance. Then senators in the United States are already saying that nuclear attack on Ukraine is a nuclear attack on the West. One of them is a Democrat, another is Republican. Once again, nuclear attack on Ukraine is a nuclear attack on NATO. I think it's a bingo. Then NATO countries are also coming out officially. Canada says they do support Ukraine. Baltic countries, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, also chime in saying they do support. The rest of NATO members, one way or another, will have to react soon. And now, what is their current position? What can it be? Can they say it is not so simple, we'll think? We'll think to what? To not provoke Kremlin? What else can you provoke Kremlin for if Kremlin is already threatening NATO publicly with nukes? Not even to Ukraine, but to NATO. Second, they did illegal annexation of neighborly territories, the second in the last 8 years. What adequacy are you expecting from them? Putin is an idiot. I don't think, realized what did he do. He had a lot of, kind of third group countries who were maybe leaning to support him here and there, or trying to gain political favor during, their motions to and from Putin. But he currently put them in a position where, by supporting him, they have to support illegal annexations. And I think that also indicates his course to isolate Russia. Also, knowing a little bit about how things work here in Kiev, I do not think it was improvisation, because there were definitely consulting sessions held before that. We do have another commission, right? Yermak, McFall? No, not McFall, ex-General Secretary of NATO. Starts with R, the Dutch guy. I'm sorry, I'm tired of the evening. Rasmussen, right, Rasmussen. So that communication channel is open, and that would not have happened without consulting with him and reaching out to NATO and the military and diplomatic line to sign official request and then to blush and say, sorry, we didn't warn you, we just needed to improvise. I don't think that's how it works. We realize that it's a lengthy communication starting now. We will not hear a yes tomorrow. We'll have to fight for that. This is not a simple process, and that's the value of the West, that each decision needs to be fought for. There need to be arguments pro and against it. You cannot just push it through. And in NATO, the voice of a small country has a similar weight as United States. It's a principal part of that organization. But next year, there is an interesting summit, actually, here in the Baltics, and I think, half a year and we could push forward. You think you could push it in half a year? It sounds reasonable. We'll see. And here NATO perhaps should give us not the status immediately of a NATO member, but just a candidate to join NATO, because it makes it a bit more difficult to fight with a NATO candidate country for Putin's regime. And right after the statement and statements of the leaders that we quoted, for example, leaders of Democrats, leaders of Republicans, the probability of a nuclear strike on Ukraine just went down substantially. So they'll try to likely solve that situation with chmobiks, with partially mobilized, because they're just the fodder. And by the way, a special message to them, the fastest thing you can do is surrender upon getting to the front, as fast as you can. What's interesting, presidents ask and his appeal to national republics of Russia was broadcasted on the official channel of Dagestan. And he did say that, please tattoo your name and other data on your body, so at least we could, that would help to recognize you, because we have an experience of storing tens of thousands of bodies that are difficult to trace back to a name and a person because of the level of damage. So please do something like that. And he also addressed it specifically to national republics in the group of Russia, and he basically appealed to them, saying, you don't have to die for that balding goat who decided to annex neighbors. Oh, I also want to put an intercept here. It's an interesting one. A reaction of Russian military to what's happening. You know what I'm afraid of? Those Americans, and they have all these, who the F knows, fighting for them. I'm afraid they will gather those fighters against Stallone, Arnie, that Hard Dyer, who else is there? F, fucking F. If they figure out to gather those, that team will be done. I don't know if Michael Douglas had enough Russian roots. Maybe he'll go fight for us. If there is a chance, we'll have a chance then. Otherwise, if they gather that, we'll be done. So yeah, this is the geopolitical thinking we deal with. I am amazed. If it's real, this is funny. And according to some humor online, this was one member of Federation Council talking to another. You know, I don't believe that, but it's hilarious. Well, looking at their decisions they take, that could be real. You know, yeah, I agree. They need to, all these Putinoids need to perish on the front. Look at the group that was there listening in Kremlin to Putin's speech. The most gentle term I can use is they are not bright. I think they're degrading, seriously. Personally, Mark, I think they are criminals. They're war criminals. Everybody who applauded and gathered there, they're war criminals that should be illustrated, should never take part in any government, in any management, any bureaucratic organization later. They all need to go in prison for that. Oh, that's your version, Olexiy, to prison. You're too civilized. Well, it's my and the West version, if they're lucky to be in the West. You know, Olexiy, no, prison, we passed that station a long time ago. As I'm saying, illustration is for the weaklings. No, I think it's, yeah, for those of them who will be lucky to be captured in civilized countries like Europe, then they likely will go to prison. No, Olexiy, in Russia, yeah, maybe in the West. In Russia, resection needs to be done in a radical manner. 510,000 are watching us live, over 150,000 are watching us live. That's good for Friday. They preferred us to all the other earthly pleasures. Let's talk about another thing, sanctions. Practically immediately, both in European Union and in states, they announced sanctions. And I did not have time to follow that much, but I see now the count is not for thousands, but for at least hundreds personal sanctions against people and Putin's close ones. At least the quantitative parameter is there. It's not like one person is being punished for everybody. Now they're reaching out to their sons, their relatives, people helping them with their money in the West. So do you think it will continue in the same cadence and will get down to those thousands that we initially talked about? And what needs to be done? I think I saw the number of 1,400 bureaucrats. That was a good number, and it's the biggest single-time number. We'll see what will happen later. I think this process is inevitable as the decisions are made, and the funnel of sanctions will also be increasing. So you think this is not a grand finale? No, not even an intermediate. This is the beginning of a big process. We understand that responsibility for these decisions with annexing the occupied territories, there have to be personal punishment for all the Russian bureaucrats. They have to lose ability to travel to Britain, America, Europe, or anywhere. No Schengen, no state's visa. If you're a mayor, if you're a vice mayor, if you're district manager, city manager, none of them should have a way to leave Russia and get visa to travel to the West. If you want to go to the East, North Korea, China, good luck with that, but not to the West. Could be a good offer, a good suggestion for your Yermak-Makfol Commission about categorical sanctions. Not a single bureaucrat. Rimbaud added sanctions against 1,300 Russian bureaucrats. This is a good basis to also take that to your Yermak-Makfol Commission and elaborate on that. You'll have to provide proper bureaucratic basis, some logic, and find the right way, but the beginning of a new stage is definitely here. This is a slow process, but you need to understand what is the Western civilization. You need to continue to provide arguments for your position. This is an ongoing fight that trains politicians and bureaucrats pretty well. So generally the quality of politicians is growing, but what if they take a path taken in Russia now, where everybody just nods and supports the leader, then the quality of that leader just spirals down. Part of our population here in Ukraine is still under the impression that of that Soviet regime, if you know the leadership decided something, that will be implemented tomorrow. So not exactly, it is a process, but the thing is that this is the first step, and we are going on that path. I'll remind you that one of the Putin's goals, officially declared goals for Ukraine to never join NATO, and today in response to his annexation, we basically showed him a middle finger and said, that's what you get. And another point was for him to sit down and negotiate. We all told him we're not negotiating with that president. So we are playing proactively. I appreciate that. This is very well. This is going well. We learned how to win at the battlefield, but the war is not just a battlefield, and one needs to play wider. So we're learning. Our path is thorny, but the perspectives are bright, the usual, right? Okay, related to that mobilization, these occupied territories by force and appended into the Russian geographic space by force and, of course, the legal space. People who live there in occupation, citizens of Ukraine, they are in a position where they, very one-sidedly, will be given Russian, same as in Crimea, Russian citizenship, and will likely be also mobilized, similar to DNR, LNR. And yesterday, Ukrainians, citizens, not like those who 8 years ago were in Donetsk and Lugansk, but the ones who literally last year were Ukrainian citizens, they will be rounded and sent to fight. And I feel sorry for them, because they're in a really between a rock and a hard place. Well, same thing as I said before. They need to maneuver to avoid mobilization, and if they end up being there, the best thing for them is to find a way to surrender and change the go across the front line. How to do that? Well, stop firing at Ukrainian military, if they even did, get out to the radio and negotiate the terms, and then surrender in the whole detachment. And how do you do that? Well, the frequencies are a limited number. Sooner or later, we do bump into each other. You can also give other signals. You can use captured radio station with some presets. We can leave them radio. Somewhere in the gray zone with a few other signs. There is a ton of different ways. Through different locals, through some agents, through partisans, we'll find a way. And we'll negotiate. And our suggestion still stands. We do not shoot in the ones who are negotiating. We do not shoot at ones who are revolting. We are shooting at those who will come to try to punish them. Special attention we're paying to national detachments. So if it's a group from Dagestan, it's a modern warfare. We do know who stands where. And they do have a chance to negotiate and to surrender and change sides. Detachments from Tatarstan and any national base. I'm not even talking about our mobilized. That's obvious. That is important because I get it. They are from Russia, some of them, we even see some enthusiastic ones, but those who ended up in Kherson or Zaporozhye regions, the citizens of those regions, their situation is very difficult, right? Yeah, we discussed that. To be there today, it's very difficult. That situation is difficult, but it gives them a higher chance after mobilization is announced. Because it's difficult to cross the gray line if you're alone, but if a battalion or detachment just lifts up and goes, then it makes it much harder. Especially in some parts where neighbors to the left and to the right are further out, then mass mobilization actually makes their chances of surrendering way easier, because it's difficult to catch one. It's easier to catch and shoot one defector, but what can you do about a battalion, right? You lift up as a battalion and you walk across. Yeah, battalion is a big number. Let's touch one more question about the northern stream. Americans said they're considering accusations absurd, because Putin did voice them one way or another in his speech, and that United States are working closely with Sweden and with Danes to figure out what is going on and what happened there. Yeah, I understand we'll figure something, right? We'll figure what happened. Well, there is already some data that Russian anti-boat plane was circling that area right before the explosions. Imagine that they knew something, that they were trying to trace who'd be exploding their pipes. Why didn't they scream in the media about that? So I would think Americans, according to the Western tradition, will first of all get the solid, bulletproof data before coming out with statements. But for me, looking at the available sum of data, one can point a definite finger towards Russia. And what else? They're blowing up the critical infrastructure objects that were cherished in different wars, even the mad ones like Iran, Iraq. So this is upping the ante, the usual Putin stuff. I looked at some media today. There's already a million messages about possible new sanctions, Rammstein, and everything. So we'll see. Our next important milestones would be the 15th of October, who will be in power in China after their assembly, and also what will be the result of the next Rammstein meeting, what will be in the new package of arms. By the end of October, we'll actually have a very bright, interesting October, eventful month, but at the second half of October we'll see where the situation is unfolding towards. The Mobics from Russia will be more en masse on the front. So we'll see how it goes there. We're sort of at the fork now. We'll see where it goes. It will be interesting in any case. We already just got a message that White House said it is not time to review Ukrainian request to join NATO, but we understand that could be part of a game and everything can change after certain decisions of China, certain decisions in the United Nations, after the elections in the United States. Even if there is already a consensus even if there would be a full consensus among NATO countries to accept Ukraine, they would still be peddling all that in the media and considering and thinking, and the war is a path of a deceit. Okay, almost 40 minutes we're live, 531,000 watching us, and over 180,000 click the like button, which definitely is good. I remind you, please subscribe to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych. It is worth it. Subscribe to the privateer station if you are listening to or watching that in English. Click that bell so you don't miss anything. I think one last thing to discuss is what will happen with prisoners of war. As we see, Kirill Budanov, the leader of Ukrainian Intel, did mention that they are talking about exchange all for all. Negotiations keep going. Very probably there will be more exchanges. I don't know about all for all, but this process keeps going during any war, even the most vicious one. So the stimul for the previous one, Olexiy, when they changed 250 for 55, was the presence of Medvedchuk in that Ukrainian stash, who was a cherry on that group. And now, Mark, we might have a lot of Lymanchuks there, from Lyman. So you think in Lyman there could be some higher profile or large number of prisoners? Well, it depends how the battle situation goes, because they are encircled, let's say the lower 2,500. At least part of them will be captured, so that's a good number. Because we do get a lot of requests from a lot of relatives. We're continuing the program of help, and there are a lot of people turning and asking. We just physically cannot answer everyone. But all that bravado, all these crazy statements by Putin, they're happening in parallel with negotiations. Do I understand it right? Absolutely. So what's the Moscow interest? Because they can blackmail with prisoners. Well, yeah, but it's difficult to do that when we have a ton of prisoners from Russian side here, because they're also getting pressure on the Russian side. What kind of pressure are you talking about? Well, relatives. First of all, relatives that are screaming at their military, and then there would be, let's say, officers and jet pilots coming and saying, well, you want us to use our jets? You need to bring our pilots back, because they're precious. Do you want our planes to fly? You need to get those people back. And then we would not just give them pilots, and then we start talking about who else is going, and that's how it can start. That's how it sometimes goes. Also, international pressure. They have Erdogan, who promised to be an intermediary, and he needs to produce certain motion, because intermediary needs to, it's not just a title, you need to be able to continue doing proactive work and realize these grandiose programs as getting two warring sides into peaceful talks. And if you cannot help in release of prisoners, how can you organize negotiations? So he starts to put pressure on Putin regime too. I need prisoners, I need to show that I can do something here. For example, you cannot liberate prisoners of war, but then you are taking initiative to put both tables to negotiation table, right? That's a wrong take on it. Also, if they refuse to exchange prisoners now, after we liberate Kherson and other regions will have thousands more. And if, for example, they just decided not to, Ukrainian may keep 10,000 of that Kherson group, for example, and those are cream de la cream of what they have left. Airborne troops, motorized infantry. So this option, they try to keep it open because you never know who will end up being captured. If you completely shut it down, it may come to a situation when you really, really want to get somebody out, but you just closed your option. So, okay, interesting. Tomorrow, Saturday, we have a stream, right? Yes, everything is good. The last thing we want to share with you, don't leave, it's funny and interesting. We have 2 new merch. I think I like them. I do like that Ricky and Morty design, Feygin and Arestovich on the gray background. I haven't seen anything from Ricky and Morty, I just like the picture. But those people who are sharing who watch that are telling me that this indeed is matching the style. And finally, Arestovich is my grandchild and I am a grandfather. If you like that design, it is available now. You can buy different articles with that design on it. And the other is funnier, I think. Olexiy Arestovich used it in one of his channels. The story where some people say I'm playing the Kolomoisky part here, but other people are saying I am Leon in this picture. So that's another funny design you can choose for the merch. For your t-shirts, mugs, or whatever. What else I wanted to mention? Tomorrow we'll try to offer to those of you who want to buy an original certificate. So in honor of us, tell me, Dual Star was named after us. We just talked about that as an idea, and somebody bought a certificate. So there is a certificate. We'll maybe try to impose our digital signatures over that, and we can do an auction of a sorts. Given that we won't even touch this money, you basically will be sending this money to some lady who was recently liberated from the Azovstal fighters. It'll be good for you. You'll have our unique certificate item, and you'll also help those who needed that help, the prisoners of war, or somebody who suffered greatly. So tomorrow I think we'll be ready to do that, right? Okay. Okay. Friday, we're done with our mission. See you tomorrow at 10. See you tomorrow. Bye.